Working from home, huh? Yeah, it's got its perks, right? I mean, who doesn't love ditching the commute and rocking those comfy clothes all day? But let's be real for a sec. Staying productive when you're like steps away from your couch and all the snacks, that's a whole other challenge.
It really is.
And speaking of challenges, we got this awesome video script from one of our listeners. Shout out for sending that in, by the way, all about staying productive while working from home.
Definitely.
So today, we're diving deep into those strategies. We're going to break them down, add some extra tips and tricks from our own experience, and hopefully help you guys, really make that home office a productivity powerhouse.
Exactly, a powerhouse. And what really stood out to me in the script was that emphasis on routine, like actually setting those work hours and sticking to them.
Yeah.
Even when, let's be honest, that snooze button is calling your name.
Oh, tell me about it. The struggle is real. But I think there's something to that, right? It's like signaling to your brain that, okay, playtime's over, work mode activated.
Totally. You're right on the money with that. There's this whole psychological thing about our brains craving predictability.
Makes sense.
So when you have a routine, it's like you're giving your brain that sense of, okay, this is what we're doing now. This is how we're doing it.
I've tried the whole strict routine thing before, though.
Yeah.
And it's kind of backfired. Like, instead of feeling focused, I just felt, I don't know, trapped, like too rigid.
I get that.
So how do you strike that balance, like, between structure and that, flexibility we all crave?
Yeah, great question. And I think you hit on a key point. Routines, they shouldn't feel like this, like, Kate, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be this rigid thing. It's more like, think of it like a framework.
A framework.
Yeah, and you can adapt that framework to your own energy levels, to your own work style, whatever works best for you.
Gotcha.
And actually, in your script, you mentioned scheduling in a mid-morning yoga break.
Oh, yeah. Got to get that stretch in.
Yeah. Right. And that's a perfect example of how you can personalize a routine. Some days, maybe that yoga break turns into a 20-minute power nap.
I mean, I'm not opposed.
Right. It's about finding what works for you within that structure.
I like that.
Yeah.
So speaking of structure, you also talked about setting up a dedicated workspace in your script. And you even, you were kind enough to show us your little setup.
Yeah.
I got to say, that fold-out desk tucked into the corner of your living room, that was pretty ingenious.
Thanks. Small spaces, got to get creative.
Yeah, exactly. But, I think a lot of people struggle with this, especially when you're working from home. Like, how do you mentally separate work from chill time when it's all happening in the same, four walls?
Yeah, that's a real challenge. But here's the thought. Think of it like a theatrical set change, right?
Okay.
Imagine, you switch on a desk lamp, but it's a lamp that you only use for work.
Okay, I can see where you're going with this.
Right. That little action, that's like your spotlight. It's like a cue to your brain that Showtime focus mode activated.
I love that. Setting the stage for productivity.
Exactly.
And speaking of stage cues, another thing you mentioned was the importance of, taking breaks.
Yeah.
Which can be tough when, like I said, you're just steps away from the couch and all 7 seasons of your favorite show calling your name.
Oh, yeah. It's tempting.
But in your script, you talk about stepping away from your screen every hour to, stretch, move around a bit, get the blood flowing.
Yeah, and you know what? The science backs that up. Our brains, they just aren't wired for that constant, intense focus, So even a micro break, even 5 minutes, that can do wonders for reducing mental fatigue, for boosting creativity. Think of it like hitting the refresh button on your brain.
It's true. It's like rewarding yourself for, putting in hard work.
Exactly.
Okay, so last but definitely not least, let's talk about your productivity arsenal.
Yeah.
You mentioned using Trello to manage projects, right?
Yep.
And for those who might not be familiar, Trello is kind of like a digital whiteboard.
Yeah, I like to think of it as a visual way to organize all your tasks.
You can, organize tasks into different lists and cards, and it makes collaborating with other people super easy. But what I found interesting was in your script, you talked about how you actually color code different project categories.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it's just a little trick I picked up to help me visualize things better.
Right.
You're basically creating this like visual language.
That's a great way to put it.
And it helps you see, okay, what's the status of this project? What are my priorities? Just like at a glance.
And I think that speaks to the bigger point about how we can personalize these tools to really fit our own work style.
Yeah.
And, supercharge our workflow.
Absolutely.
So, okay, let's do a quick recap. We talked about establishing a flexible routine, right? One that actually works for you, not against you.
Right.
creating a dedicated workspace, even if it's just a little corner, but making it clear that, okay, this is where work happens.
It's all about those boundaries.
Exactly. Boundaries. Taking those brain-boosting breaks, no matter how tempting it is to just power through.
Give yourself a break. You deserve it.
You deserve it. You got it. And, of course, finding those productivity tools that, fit your style, your needs, and help you get stuff done.
Couldn't agree more.
Awesome. Well, that about wraps it up for our deep dive today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Oh, thanks for joining us. And as always, a huge thanks to our listeners, and especially to the listener who sent in that video script. That was awesome.
Yeah, seriously. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Absolutely. Now, before we go, one final thought for you all out there in the work-from-home world. As you try these strategies, think about how they're impacting not just your productivity, but also your overall well-being.
It's all connected.
Yeah, it really is. Are you feeling energized, focused, or are you, feeling stressed and burnt out? The goal here is to find that sweet spot, to create a work-from-home experience that's sustainable, one that lets you thrive both professionally and personally.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's all from us today. Catch you guys next time.
See you later.